Alright, a few preliminary things here. Let me try and get this set up where you can see better what's going on, if possible. Maybe that is better. Something like that. So make sure we got the perimeter here. Looks like it. Gotta make sure we got everything in the shot. Alright, how you guys doing? Got, this is Old School Tactical Volume 2. And combined with a little bit of ASL. Why would I do such a heretic type thing? Well, because I'm a nut. Nothing wrong with the way Old School Tactical plays. It's just fine as it is. By the same token, there's nothing wrong with ASL. Plays just fine the way it is. For whatever reason, I change things. I don't understand what's wrong with me, why I do that. But that's what I do. So, just double checking again. And cut that. Alright. I do have the live chat on, so if you want to say hello or go to hell or whatever you like. Hey, you get some weirdos on these things. You know, when you do these live feeds, you roll the dice. I think when I did War Chat, I had some bonehead poser on here chanting something about Nazi this, that, and the other. Just ignored him, and he got bored and went somewhere else. Maybe he'll drop back by and pay us a visit. So here we go. What are we looking at specifically, though? This is, again, Old School Tactical 2. This is from the Airborne module. That is to say the map and the scenario. And we have just completed the big drop, which was scenario A3, June 6, 1944, Saint-Mère-Glisse, France, of course. That was 7 turns. Utilized the entire board. And had about 6 victory hex objectives. 4 of them were successfully taken by the Americans. 2 are still technically. Probably call again. Sorry about that, I just got a phone call from my neighbor, so I imagine he'll call again and interrupt at least one more time. We'll see how that goes. Also, hang tight while I'm at it. I'm going to shut the front door here. Literally, not metaphorically. Door is shut. Hopefully neighbor stops calling, and we're back. So what had happened was scenario A3, which I just finished again, was big airborne drop. Americans were brought this way, moved in, kind of moved northward from the south and westward from the east. And for whatever reason, I paid a little bit more attention to the northern push. I have no idea why. When I first started playing the scenario, I was so wrapped up in it. I already mentioned this in another post, but I pretty much forgot about this stuff up here. I know that sounds weird, but that's what happened. So the westward push in the north happened a little later than it should. But it worked out alright because I grabbed a number of these victory objectives. And so did okay there. As far as casualties, I think I knocked out, let's see, a couple German squads and they've only managed to knock out a couple half squads of Americans. Lots of people breaking left and right. So let me break this down for you before we hop right into scenario A4, which is D-Day Dawn. And that is the second part. It joins up, if you will, with the big drop scenario we just finished. I just drew a blank. So, what was I saying? Sorry, I just completely drew a blank. I guess we'll just move forward. If it comes back to me, I'll come back to it. So this is D-Day Dawn. We've got 11 turns. And, oh, I don't remember now. I was gonna run over how this takes place. I've joined 2 separate games. You got to have some give and take, some compromises, and there's no different in this particular instance. So what I've done is I've maintained the impulse point system. It works perfect. I'm not changing anything there. But I am using ASL counters. And for the most part, ASL rules now, a weird quirk, if you will, with the old school tactical system is, you may or may not have noticed, there's no routing in this game. And I'm not complaining. I don't necessarily take personal offense to the fact that, you know, some people, it's insulting if you don't do a game the way they would have done it. Not like that. You know, if you don't have routing in here, that's fine. The designer most likely had probably a pretty good reason for not including it. That said, my curiosity at one point boiled over, and I started to post in the forums of Old School Tactical to ask, you know, again, just out of curiosity, why was that left out? Because it's in so many games, seems important enough. And then I gave up, and I just Facebooked Shane, the designer, Mr. Shane Logan himself, who was generous, kind enough, nice enough to not only reply, but ask me a few questions about myself, which I appreciate. But he said, in a nutshell, he left routing out, A, to keep things somewhat simplified, but B, he wanted to cause the player to have to incorporate impulse points into any decision that would involve routing. What I guess he means by that is, you in the game, Old School Tactical, you can shake or break. Shaken or broken. If you shake, you can still move. If you break, you're frozen in place. And I kind of dig that, I guess, because it doesn't seem like, realistically speaking, say for instance in ASL, a unit routes all the time, every time, or a unit, that is to say on the opposite end of the spectrum, would never route. So what we're dealing with here is a system in which, if you utilize it correctly, it's really up to you, the player, to decide once you shake if you want to route and get away, or, if you will, freeze in place and eat dirt, and risk breaking, which will cause you to, again, just freeze in place and you can't move once you break, so you wouldn't be able to route. So I don't utilize routing. I've stuck with that. That's to say, the ASL rules regarding routing. And I'm not following the ASL turn sequence, which is, people are probably screaming as I say that. But, you know, everything that OSTII has ironed out here is just fine, and I want to stick with that for the most part. The combat results table is ASL driven, and of course, when it comes to the numbers and figures on the counters, as far as that is related to ASL rules, that all stays the same as well. I noticed a couple quirks that will probably pop up as we run through a couple turns, such as, you know, if a leader breaks, then if you stack with a squad, the squad, even if he doesn't break, will have to roll again to see if he does break because the leader broke. Stuff like that that's not in Old School Tactical, I try to stick to as far as ASL. So hopefully you can see how all this comes together, and either you'll cringe or do likewise yourself. Feel inspired to combine a couple games and maybe make the best of both worlds. With that, I'll shut up and continue. So, beginning with D-Day Dawn, June 6, 1944, still San Mariglis. Now, where it was night before, it is no longer night. In fact, it says, the sun has risen on June 6th, and the great invasion has begun. The paratroopers in San Mariglis hold on to what they have gained. I agree with that. Stragglers continue to link up with them, but more German units are entering the fight as well. Soldiers of the 1058th Grenadier Regiment move forward to take the town back. And they do indeed. So when this last scenario started out, very few German units on board, and I suppose that is accurately represents the surprise element of Americans dropping in unannounced. But finally, we got some German reinforcements coming in, quite a bit actually. We've got, looks like, turn 11, 6 squads, turn 10, 3 squads, turn 8, 3 Pioneer squads, and turn 7, 2 rifle squads. And the way I have equated rifle squad in ASL terms is 467, unless it is, say for instance, turn 8 where it says 3 Pioneers, I'm using 468s. And there are a couple other things that I have left out. So the sniper stuff, I haven't happily decided how to integrate that, so I just left it out. Maybe further down the road. Alright, we're back. It looks like I've lost you yet again. You know, for this stuff to work at all is, I don't know, you just got to be lucky, I guess. The internet feed, phone calls. But it looks like we're back. So what I was trying to say is with D-Day Dawn, so we have an optional rule with some air support for the Americans or an artillery strike for the Germans that is going to pop up in turn 8. But I thought I remember reading about a artillery strike. Yeah, we have an off-board ass. Germans have one OBA strike at the start of the scenario. We're going to roll 1 die 6 to determine the type of that. And can we see this? No, we cannot. So this is a dice tray. If you put it here. So we're going to roll for that. That's a 5. And what does that give us? That gives us artillery. So I have no idea how that works. I haven't messed with artillery in old school tactical. So maybe pause and grab a drink or go to the bathroom while yours truly tries to suss out just how artillery works in here, and then we'll be moving along at a more rapid rate. So 34 artillery strikes, let's go to 34. And I may end up using the CRT to take care of this. Off-board artillery strike. We have artillery. It includes fire from mortars, field guns, all 3 types. Costs 1 impulse point. I guess I better roll for impulse points is what I need to do, so let's hold off on that. And the Germans get 3 dice 6. Let's roll that first. 3 dice 6. We got 3 dice here. Then they got virtually nothing. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's mark their 8 impulse points, which is egregious, to say the least. And we have 4 dice 6, which is 1 less than. Actually, they get 7 because of the amount of casualties they have. They lose 1 point. Actually, they lose, 1 point. Americans get 1 die less than they did in the last scenario. They were rolling at 5d6. Now we're getting 4d6. And that was really allowing Americans to kick butt as well. Again, I suppose that abstractly represents the element of surprise, and hopefully we won't lose connection again. I had another feed going. I killed that. We'll see what happens. So 18, 19, 20, 21 for the Americans. So there's 21. No lack of impulse points for those folks. Got that done. Now we need to, let's stage our squads. We got a light machine gun, 6 rifle squads, and an 8 neg 0 leader coming from the north. That's easy enough. And stacking rules, I'm utilizing the OSTII rules for that, which I may like a little bit better. You know, when you get those big ass kill stacks of Germans and ASL, I mean, I guess that can happen, but it's, I don't know. Anyway, the stacking for stacking rules for OSTII deals with 2 squads and a leader. And again, simple enough. I think we just come from the north, which is what it says we have to do. We'll go ahead and reinforce these 2 yet to be achieved or taken U.S. objectives that they need. At the least hold them, but hopefully be able to push forward and maybe reclaim at least another one that has been taken. So that's what we'll do there. Now back to the pesky little artillery issue. Cause 1 impulse point. To call an OBA strike, target hex must be in line of sight of good order. Spotting, yeah. So in order to spot, we need to be on a map. So let's go ahead and do that. And as I said, the last scenario was night, so you only had a 4 hex range of which you could fire. That's now defunct as it is daytime, which means you've got the full range that these machine guns. See, like for instance, this machine gun is ready to just roll right down that road, and he can fire nearly the whole length of that road. I suppose he could fire even further than his registered range, long range. So if we cut through here instead of down the road, we'll probably be safer. I gotta look and see who all has. See, he's got one, but his line of sight's blocked. So yeah, that may be the way to go. So we'll stack 2 squads and leader, roll from the north here, work our way down. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4 for the wall, 5. Not enough to get into the building unless we use critical exhaustion. I don't want to do that. 2 points for using, I guess you would call it a group move in OSTII. Mark it with a moved marker, and that's that. It's a pretty straightforward system. What this allows now us to do is note that this unit has moved, but also that it can still fire if it would choose to. If that were to happen, we would flip the counter to the used side, which essentially designates that unit as used. And then there's also, I believe, intensive fire that you could use, which would also cause the unit to be, I think, shaken, if I remember correctly. So there's that as well. What else? We've got these guys are going to roll through with a light machine gun. And it is the Germans' turn. All through last scenario, you roll for initiative, right? All through last scenario, and I already rolled for this off camera before we started. The Germans did not get to go first, ever, I don't think. So this is a rarity for them to be able to act first. Anywhere off the north edge, so 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 4. We can do that there. Another group move that uses up 2 more impulse points. Sorry if I call them action points. I think I may do that at some point if I haven't already. Mark him with a moved counter. And then the last 2 here shall do likewise. 1, 2, 3. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. It's only going to be able to put him here because that's all he has to do. 2 more points burned. And mark him with a moved. And as I roll through here, you guys are welcome to recommend what you think may be a better option. I'm trying to remember to check to see if anybody's saying anything and not get lost in what I'm doing here. That leaves 1 point to do what? And you can only move once as an action. You can't move twice. You could fire twice. Nothing to really fire at this point based on line of sight. So it seems like a waste to I'll leave that action point there, or impulse point, in case I need to use opportunity fire. There's really nothing else I can do at that point anyway. So we'll switch to the American turn. Use these poker chips to help remember whose turn it is, because I forget things like crazy. American's turn. And you know what? I forgot the artillery strike. You see? I just said I forget things. I wonder if we can do that the next round. So it says it's available. I'm probably going to forget it through the whole scenario. Let me just verify that. Yeah, we get one strike that we can use whenever. And I don't have line of sight anyway, so spotting wouldn't do me a damn bit of good. So wouldn't be able to use it this turn anyway. American's turn. No lack impulse points to use. And I should add, again, this is 11 turns, and you count down to 1. When you hit 1, you roll a die to determine if, in fact, it is the end, or if you go 1 extra turn. And I really like that. That helps get rid of the foresight, the predictability of knowing when the turn's going to end, so you can go all out, which isn't exactly necessarily very realistic in my opinion. So we will begin with the Americans now. What are they going to do? We actually have some situations, yeah, at least two situations in which, and I haven't used counters to represent that, but these ASL counters are just small enough to fit almost 2 side by side in a hex. So we have a melee session going on here and one here. So we'll try and resolve those at the end of the turn, and then see how that goes. So let's start here with these two. There's a squad with a medium machine gun and a 9-leg 1 liter. If he tries to run and grab this, I think he's good to go. 1, 2, 3, 4, definitely 5, 6. We just grabbed another victory point objective, which is what these little doodads represent. He has moved. If I forget something, feel free to remind me, because I will and have already forgotten things. And that burns 2 points, so we drop that down there, and that becomes 19. Adjust the victory point track, that is 2 points, so move that up 2. Americans now have 6 victory points, drop the Germans down 2 to 2. They only hold the 1 now, so that's 2 victory points that they have for holding that. I don't know, can you see this guy here? Is that off map? Yeah, he's off map. I have a German, 2 squads over here that I just straight up bypassed, more or less. I don't see why I should have wasted my time fiddling with them when I can just blow past them and reach objectives. So that's what I did, and I have a similar situation down here with this leader and 2 squads. I just straight up bypass them to grab stuff. Same for here. So I don't know that I'm going to waste my time messing with them. If they want to mess with me, that's fine. I encourage them to do so. So we got stuff coming from the north. There's no point coming around through here. There's too much open area to run through. It's silly to do that. Let's plod these guys along. So no leader, so it's going to be 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. If we go here, mark them as moved. I don't know that a lot's going to happen this turn, but the next turn should be different. What else? What else? 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's move these guys here. And there's only 1 point since it's 1 squad. Moved. And if there is a melee hex, you're not allowed to fire into it, so there's no point wasting any time doing that. It seems weird just to run right up this road, but access is available, so another one there. So again, you can group move if you have 2 squads, but you don't receive a discount for moving them as such. You would still pay 2 impulse points for moving full squads. So again, just moving up, hopefully try and gain some sort of line of sight, move within firing range. I don't have a lot to worry about over here, so I don't think that I will. 1, 2, 3, 4. Another thing that's interesting is I've noticed with this map board, as I continue to move up, is you have road and building in the same hex, so you kind of need to keep track of which type of terrain they're in, and I try and move them, physically move them more towards the building or the road, depending on where they're at, to be fair to the other side, because you can't say, oh, well, now he's in a building if he just finished his move moving on the road. So that's what I'm trying to do there. I can't remember if I did the impulse point for that. I think I did. Then we have move him here, again moving up, and this is kind of tedious at this point, but this is how it goes sometimes. The calm before the storm, just kind of regrouping here, I guess. Another action point burned, moved. Maybe I'll keep them down here just to prevent these guys from moving up. In fact, do a little fire action for you there. 1, 2. Let's see, he's got a line. He doesn't have a range though. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, that's 1. Yeah, if he uses road movement. 1, 2, 3, 4. Burn another point. Put a moved marker on him. We're getting there, folks. What? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Awesome. We could do that totally. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There. And that is technically 2. 10. That becomes 9 impulse points left there. So that is a good place to be. Wish I had a machine gun there, but that's how it goes. Maybe I'll keep him there for now. These guys definitely need to get scooting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that is going to burn the rest of my... In fact, I don't even have enough to do that. Yeah, I do. You can make it to there because he's with a leader. Mark him, moved down 2. Mark moved. There's that. Got 7 impulse points left. This seems weird to do, but I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that will burn yet 2 more impulse points. Mark him as moved. That leaves, I need to move this guy, and I'm going to fire with him, so just enough left to do that. And we're going to go, oh yeah, if I can move, 1, 2, 3, 4, let's do that. 2 more points burned. Mark him as moved. And now you should see what I'm doing here, just trying to cradle the oncoming German reinforcements. Brace for the attack. And yeah, let's fire here. So, he has a bazooka, but I'll hold off on that. 7, 2 7s is 14. Go to the end of CRT, 14, there is no 14, drop down to 12. Mark them with fired. No leader modifier, he's in a stone building, add 3 to the die roll. No machine gun to keep track of, rate of fire. What do we get? Nothing. 7, 8, 9, 10. It's a pin task check. That's kind of a moot point because they already had their turn. So I don't even know that that's worth rolling for. It's not. Drop that down. Now we only have 1 impulse point left, so can only fire with one of these guys. That's a 7. It drops down to 6. Add 3. 6, 9. And again, that's nothing. Now I'm wondering, I can't remember. If you run down to... No, that's a different game. Alright. So I'm getting confused with Lost Battles, and that if you run out of action points or impulse points, you can then roll 1d6 to see if you get... Well, obviously you would get at least one additional action point. But that's a different game, not this one. So that's that. And... enters before new special rule. Forgot to roll for American reinforcements. Let's see. Beginning of turn 10. No, I haven't. Yeah, I have. No, I haven't. So on the next turn, turn 10, I will roll for American reinforcements to see if any of those show up. Before we do that, we have 2 melee sessions to take care of. So we have 7, a leader makes 8 to 2 is what, 4 to 1? If I do my math correctly. 4 to 1 should not be an issue, but it has been in the past. And of course, nothing. Now 1 to 4, 3 or less, and nothing, so they're still locked. That should not be that difficult, I tell you, I swear. So that's 5, and he's got 8. So that's 1 to 1. 5 or less, got him. And the Germans, nothing. So we just destroyed another squad and a leader. So we'll mark those casualty points as such. That would be 7 on 8, so that'd be 9, 10. Now, when the Germans roll for, and I'm sure I'll forget this, when the Germans roll for impulse points, we deduct 2 impulse points for those casualties. In fact, 10, that would be an 11 for the leader, 11. So, what else? That's that. Sorry about that. It looks like the camera dropped down. Try and prevent that happening again. So I can imagine everybody's delight not being able to see what the hell I'm doing. So we're cut off, the bottom is right about here. Let's back it up a little bit. Sorry about that, guys. I'm not a camera guy, I'm a gamer here. Can you see what's going on now? I think you can. That's definitely better. I think we were cutting off part of the board, or maybe we weren't, so I'm just trying to be sure here. Alright. Back to where we were. We need to do stuff, so things to consider. Still got a melee session going on here. I think we're in a pretty good position as far as the US goes. I don't know what the hell the Germans are going to do. You can't just sit here and hang out. They're going to have to move in somehow. I don't know how. That is. So an interesting thing to consider is on this next turn, we're going to have a few German reinforcements entering from the south edge. What do we do first? Let's roll to see if we, let's roll for the impulse points first. So Germans get, what, 3? Subtract 2, that's 12, 13, 14, 15, 17. So that's 15 yeah, 15 impulse points for the Germans now. And after our deductions for having so many casualties, and if I put this here, can you see it? Americans, we need to roll 4d6. What we got here? 11, 12, 18. Looks like they get 18. And then we need to roll for we need to roll for possible American reinforcements. So on a 5 or a 6, we're good. Otherwise, we're not good. So no American reinforcements at this point. And then we got to roll for initiative. I'm gonna stage the Germans in the south edge. It says. Let's see. That'll be 2 squads and a 7x0 leader with 467 squad and a light machine gun. Now in this game, it says. For leaders, for instance, it'll say a lieutenant or a sergeant, so I've tried to break down the 7x0, 8x0, etc., break it down equally by rank to determine who you get. And I keep forgetting command range, and really in this game all that affects is possible rally modifiers. And then I guess if you're stacked for the leader, there's that. But you know, in some games, in fact, the platoon leader, if you're not within command range of a leader, it pretty much leaves you up the creek with half a paddle. So not so in this game. So I guess that's refreshing. Stage. Now let's roll for initiative. How do you roll for initiative in this game? How do you determine that? It's simple, straightforward. Germans go, they get a 10. Americans go, they get an 8. Germans go first. How complicated was that? Not complicated at all. Alright, so 5. We have 15. We got to bring these guys in, so we're going to be burning some stuff here. Nope. You know what else? I haven't been utilizing the road movement, which is probably what, half a move. It's generally what it is. Roads. Yep. No, 1 movement. Okay, cool. Well, half for vehicles, but it's really no different to move on foot on a road than in the open. So, and I agree with it. I'm fine with that. So no point in entering along the road. Alright, so we can move 6 with this leader. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Puts him right here. Let's get rid of these guys before I confuse myself. They're very helpful, but only up to a certain point. And then you can cause yourself trouble. Bye-bye. I'm a big fan of these markers. They really help me. Again, I have amnesia half the time. Remember what the hell anybody's done. And the way this OST is set up, you have to have them. You're never going to remember who moved, who fired, who did what. So they are necessary, but they're also a joy to have. There and this guy there. So now you can really tell maybe a little bit better the situation. So we had moved 6, correct? No, have not. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Put them there, but you guessed it, move marker. And no, I have not forgotten the artillery that is available to the Germans. Drop 2 points, 5, 4 to 3. We're not done yet with the south reinforcements. 1, 2, 3, 4. They can only move that far because they're not moving with a leader. And that's ASL rules. If you're with a leader, you can move 6. If not, it's 4. Drop that down 1. Maybe we can bring him in just to cause trouble, but he's only got a 2 firepower, and it seems like a waste of impulse points because he's never going to accomplish anything. Definitely need to move these guys in. That's imperative. So he's not leader. He doesn't have a leader. 1, 2. Yeah, I guess you can't see this. I'm moving him on camera here. Hopefully, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Is he on camera yet? No. It's just a little stack here. 2 squads and a light machine gun that we're bypassing. I'm trying to move in. You're not missing much. Sorry about that. Mark him with a move marker. That was 2 squads. That becomes doot. What else? You guys can see everything else you need to, right? Yeah. Yeah, we're good here. Can't mess with that melee stuff yet. Oh, for the love of God. It seems like a waste to leave him there. Alright, fine. 1, 2, 3, 4. He has now moved. Mark that down. That's, what is that, 10? That now becomes 9. Push that off of there. So now we can mess with, no we can't. We can actually fire here. You know what, that was stupid. I should have ran into this building. Why did I do that? I guess the Americans are going to conduct opportunity fire at these folks. No, that's Germans. What am I doing? So we are good. Alright, losing my mind. I was wondering why. I was like, why would I have done that? Okay, so we'll go back up here. Scatterbrain, sorry. Let's go ahead and move in and claim this victory point objective. That is, unfortunately, burns 2 impulse points, but it needed to happen. They moved, right? Yes. And on top of that, that is a victory objective. And we have opportunity fire that can happen here though. So it's a 4, 7, it's an 11. It's going to fire 11. And that is only 1 point to do so. 11, drop that down. There is no 11 column, there is an 8 column. And any modifiers that I use for fire is the ASL modifiers. So they moved. I guess it could be considered an assault move. Only 1 hex. And not moving into open, so no harm there, other than my own fingers. So it's just going to be remembering rate of fire, I guess. Either 8 or less. No, yeah. So there's a 5 that's promising with a -1 for the leader. That becomes a 4. And we did get rate of fire on that machine gun. So a 4 gives us a +2. No, that's not right, because I got +3 for the stone building. So 4, 7 is what that is, sorry. It's actually a +1 morale check. Not as good as what it would have been, but they are in a building. So +1 morale check, leader first. 6, 9, he broke. See, now it's a whole damn mess. Why did you break it? So now +1 on that. He was already broken, I'd say. 5, 6, 7, 8, and he's already broken. Now, if it hadn't broken, you would have to conduct another morale check for the leader having broken. And he did fire. His machine gun maintains a rate of fire. Now, here's where the complexity of combining games comes in. Do we decide that it is an impulse point burned to fire that machine gun again? Well, I'm going to say no, it's not. So 4 or less, that's probably nothing's going to happen. No, nothing happened anyway. Even with the leader modifier, were you to add that, would get me nothing. However, we can fire all over again, allowing this unit to be used. And I forgot to do melee. Fact. Yeah, okay, I'm good. Let's fire one more time, and that'll end his opportunity fire. So again, that is a 7, 8, 9, 11, but once again, no 11 column. Ooh, it's a 4, becomes a 3, becomes a 6. 6. Another +1 morale check. So now, roll for a leader, and he is broken again. He's going 7 less, 4, 5, 6, he's fine. Next guy, 6, 7, 8, he is not. So what do we have going on here? We have a leader that is expired. Move your casualty points up yet again. We have casualty reduction on these folks. 4, 6, 7 now becomes a, and I don't have one, so I need to get one. Turn him into a half squad. So that's another point, casualty point there. Wrong one. So there we go. Replace him with a broken half squad. And then, of course, they'll get desperation morale for being fired at again. And I guess if you really, really, really look at this with a magnifying glass, it's somewhat unfair to incorporate desperation morale. Maybe, or is it not? If you can just fire again like that. But you can fire again in ASL based on certain things. So, don't remember if I dropped the impulse points down. I will do so just to be sure. So that's the opportunity fire for them. See what all that cost? Alright, so now we can move these guys. Move them where? I'm not even sure where the hell to move them. Let's do this. 1 for the wall, 2, 3, and we're stopping right there. That is 2 squads, drop that down, 2 moved, mark as such, and trigger opportunity fire from this 747 squad here. Mark him as fired. Let's go ahead and drop it now while I'm remembering. 7. There's no 7, go back to 6. That was not an assault move, so we're going to get a -1 for that. It does have a stone wall, so let's roll accordingly. Oh my Jesus, snake eyes. So that would actually be a 1, but then when you incorporate the stone wall, let's go by OSTII rules. What do they say stone wall is? 2? Should be 2. +2 defense. So that's actually a 3 at this point. And again, casualty reduction here, as well as a +2 morale check. So we need another half squad. God, their casualties go up again. So snake eyes, that's always fun to roll. That's caused casualty reduction on that squad, which is now a broken half squad. And then we have this squad, which is a +2 morale check. And he is in... No, he's not. I was going to say he's within range of a leader, but his leader's gone. It was a 4, plus 2 is a 6, so he's fine. So one guy got chewed to hell and the other guy didn't. Drop that. And you know what, I messed up here because in OST, in ASL, if the amount of movement points expended in the hex allows you to determine potentially how many times you can fire at it. But in OST, it's just once per hex, and I did twice, so my bad there. Just going to have to leave that as it is. And again, these are the things you run into, the risks, if you will, of combining games, okay? So, what do you want? Alright. These guys moved. These guys. So all we have left to mess with is this stuff here. At this point, I'm free to roll 1, 2, 3. But why would I do that? Let's go 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, I hate to do this, but 1, 2. No, I'm doing 1, 2, 3. Just moving up here. Right here and moved. It seems like a waste, but I'm playing it safe. At the same time, I don't know that I can afford to play it safe as the Germans. I mean, they're really getting beaten at this point. Is that mattress man? What's that? American's turn. What have I forgotten? Anyone? I've forgotten anything. Americans, what are you going to do, huh? You got 14 in it. You know, with the last scenario, with this one, the 14 right around there seems to be what the Americans usually get. I don't know what is like law of averages with the die rolls or something. Typically with 2 dice, you're going to roll a 7, so 4 dice, that would be, I guess, 14. And melee is usually effective. Now again, I got a couple, at least this one here is still going on, but usually it's fairly effective, much more so than firing at a unit in cover, trying to knock them out. And that's a good thing. That's the way it should work. Just trying to figure out what I want to do, you know. I guess I should move in and try and lay down some fire before running in there, so... If we move up here, that's 2, 4, what am I saying? 2 impulse points burned, and he has now moved, can fire with a penalty at some point if I so desire, and I think I will. In fact, these guys can, he can return fire as, I don't think I had any impulse points left. I may have shucked 1 or 2 off. Let's do that 14, and I'm using not the OST rules for having fired or having moved. I'm going to use the ASL rules. Probably nothing going to happen here because we have, and they fire in here, so +2 for the stone wall. Let's see what happens. Nothing. That's 6, 7, 9, 10, 12. Absolutely nothing. Might as well just fire it up in the air. And they are now used, spent, finished. Did I spend impulse points for that? I can never remember. Alright, so he's marked with fired. It's not American's turn. He can fire again now, since it's our turn. Let's do that. That's going to be 1 impulse point burn, so that 10 becomes a 9. And he will be used when he's done with that. Alright, 7 going in there. There's no 7 column, but there's a 6 +3 for the, or +2 for the wall. Yields a 9, and just missed a pin task check, which wouldn't have meant squat anyway. Let's bring these guys in, 1, 2, 3 there, and mark them as moved. Drop down to 8, drop down to 7 rather, for 2 squads having moved. What else can we do here? Just out of range. No point in firing if you're out of range and having moved. Let's bring them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because he's with a leader. But that's also 2 more impulse points burned off. Moved marker. Boom. Pull him up. That's 1 more impulse point burned. Moved. Boom. We got here 1, 2, let's pull him up. 1, 2, 3, 4. You know what? I'm ignoring down here, am I not? Yes, I am. 1, 2, 3, 4. Burn an impulse point. He's moved. Let's focus down here a little bit. We got 3 impulse points to mess with. I'm not worried about him, but these reinforcements moving up do somewhat concern me. Let's dump some fire into there. 2 7s make 14. Fired. And that's going to burn 2, 1, 2, leaves 1. 14, no 14 column, drop down to 12. Add 3 to the rolls. 6, 9, 10, 11, 12 is nothing. Let's fire 1 more time. We can only fire 1 of them because of our impulse points. That makes it 6 because there's no 7 column. Adding 3 for the stone building. 8, 9, 10, 11, and that would cower anyway. So definitely nothing. I had nothing to begin with and then I cowered, so. That should be the end of, no it's not. Once we conduct this melee here, that will in fact be the end of turn 10. I think that is 7, yeah, 7, 8, 2, 4. Now how am I having so much trouble on 4 to 1 odds? All I need is 9 or less. 7, finally, alright. And then, wow, that almost went badly, but no. Another half squad down, adjust casualties to yet another one. Germans now have 15 casualty points suffered to Americans 2? Only 2? Something's not right. That's what it says. That does effectively mark the end of turn 10, which now becomes turn 9. We remove, conduct housekeeping, right? Let's clean house. Remove these guys. Get rid of that. Get rid of this. Have any of you seen Chappaquiddick yet? I can't believe I'm asking this. I was one of 5 people in there watching that movie the other night. Why would I go see Chappaquiddick? First of all, what is Chappaquiddick? Chappaquiddick is a place in Martha's Vineyard where the rich, elitist politicians, if you will, have been known to and still go to conduct revelry. So what happens is Ted Kennedy is driving home, driving somewhere, drives off a bridge, flips the car over into the surrounding coastal water or something. The car doesn't sink all the way. It's determined that his female companion, who he was driving around, had enough air between the roof of the car, which was upside down, to not suffocate right away, not drown. She did suffocate, but they estimate maybe she lived 15, 20 minutes. And if this dude would have done what he should have done, probably could have saved her life. Now, I'm not going to say he killed her outright, but I would say it's involuntary manslaughter. And he doesn't remember how he got out of the car. And he says that he tried to get her out of the car but couldn't, which makes no sense. And in the movie, I haven't read anything factual on this, but in the movie, and again, the only reason I went is because I'm a history buff. And this is a chapter, a corner of history, if you will, that is perhaps a lesser known. When it comes to Kennedy, of course, there's the assassination of JF and all that stuff, but this is a little more lesser known, so I thought, I'm going to go check this out. But the camera cuts to him sitting on the shore, and he's in shock, I guess. Okay, yeah, all right, I get that. Maybe I would be in shock. And then he walks back to the bungalow where the reception is taking place. I think they're showering accolades onto the boiler room girls, they call them, that had worked on JF's campaign and really shined in what they did and were receiving thanks, if you will. And a couple of his aides, one of them roundabout way relative, was like, what the hell happened to you? And they go back, they try and get the girl out, they can't. Nobody's called the authorities at this point. And then they decide, okay, Ted, you need to report this. You're right, I need to report this. Okay, so he takes a rowboat back to shore, because this is on an island, not far offshore. Takes a rowboat back to shore to the hotel or whatever where he's staying. And does he contact the authorities? No, he contacts his father, who has had a stroke and can barely utter one word in a 3-minute phone conversation, who says alibi. And then I guess this gets Ted all confused. Ted has seemingly been conflicted most of his life with confidence issues and playing second, third, fourth fiddle to other people, etc. So he's conflicted in what to do, which he shouldn't be. And what does he do? He takes a bath. He goes to bed. He wakes up in the morning and he has brunch with fellow politicians. And the two gentlemen that tried to help him get the girl out the night before see him that morning, like, what the hell's going on? Because all the cop cars are rolling up now at this point. Somebody's found the car and reported it. They're trying to determine if someone is inside. And they're like, what the hell? You were supposed to report this. He's like, yeah, well, things change. I'm not gonna. Like, no, you have to report it. So it's okay, fine, I'll report it. And but he still doesn't report it. And then finally he ends up at the sheriff's office waiting for the sheriff, having had one of his aides, this distant relative of his, type out a written report that he's going to give summarizing the events that occurred the night before. And so this important piece of paper is left with the sheriff in his hands. And he goes home, I guess it's home, sees his father, converses with his father again about what happened, and his father's basically telling him, if you don't do what I suggest that you do, meaning what my aides suggest you do, you're basically no longer part of this family. And I suppose there's pressure on him to continue his political career, I guess run for office, more specifically become a presidential candidate. And why am I telling you all this? I don't know, I guess I was struck by the movie. I'm almost done. So he enters his room after he talks to his father. He's like, I'm going to kick you out of the family if you don't do what I say. And there's all these aides there, and all these aides are discussing what he should do. What have you done thus far? Well, I want to say that I was the one driving. It's the right thing to do. And I know you shouldn't say that. And it's just the conversation that takes place in this room is just priceless. And it's really irritating, to put it nicely, to see someone of his stature who has this issue that he's dealing with, this terrible issue, a person who's lost their life at his hands, more or less. Try and coach him on how to deal with it, what he should say, what he should not say, bend the truth here, bend the truth there. And it's just, it's irritating because how has he allowed these opportunities of being told how to deal with things, and then your average guy on the street is just stuck, and if he doesn't have any money, he's going to, if he's lucky, get a public defender that can, again, if he's lucky, buckle his own shoes. But here you have Ted sitting there being told by a whole room full, I think even the Attorney General was there, telling him how to deal with this. Meanwhile, they determined that, the written statement that you gave the sheriff should not be delivered to the press. And by the time they call the press to say, hey, don't release this statement, the sheriff says, well, I've read it twice. And I'm in the middle of reading it a third time, so that's shot. And again, just the heads in this room trying to come up with how to deal with this scenario is priceless to watch. And again, irritating and frustrating. Long story short, by the end, Ted has decided, yes, I'm going to say I'm the one that was driving. But then they say, well, we're going to let the public know you had a concussion, even though he didn't. And he decides, well, the way to regain the hearts of my constituents and their faith in me is to give an address on all the major news networks and explain my version of what happened, blah, blah, blah. And so he's given one script that's written by the think tank that is coaching him, and he's given another script to read by this distant relative of his who Ted has earlier came to and said, I'm going to resign. This isn't for me. Things are messed up. The right thing to do would just be to step down. And so by the end of the movie, he's presented with two scripts. And of course, he spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, he reads this script that was written by these turds that have been coaching him and goes on to save his political career, which is a joke anyway. And he does end up running, for those of you that most of you should remember, he did run to become a presidential candidate, if you will, in 1980. And that didn't work out so well. So Ted kind of faded into the background more and more each year since then. But it was an interesting movie. And again, the fascinating part was the room full of this think tank full of heads that are, trying to come up with what to do and how to deal with the situation. And it is just, it's again interesting / frustrating. But if you haven't seen it, it's not a bad movie, and it's a piece of history that is lesser known, lesser dealt with. I thought it was interesting. So that was the end of turn 10 for this, and what's the situation now? The situation is Germans and Americans basically gearing up. Now, the Germans have a choice here to make, and that choice is hold out, time perhaps being on their side, perhaps not, time in so much as reinforcements, and push down. But at this point, I don't see pushing down to regain anything or alleviate the pressure that's building. I don't see that as working out so well. Americans, and let me back up, in the South, it looks a little more promising because I've shifted everything Americans-wise up north. So maybe they could gain some ground moving up there. So in coming turns, I see myself spending the majority of impulse points down here to regain some lesser defended areas. Americans should be able to hold them off. Not shouldn't be too challenging here, especially though. No problem for the Americans, unless bad die rolls, etc. ruin the day. And I think I'll leave it at that for now. Thank you guys for watching. I just wanted to share a couple turns of that with you, and maybe perhaps inspire you to do likewise. You don't have to, some people act like these games are the holy word of God, and if you don't do exactly what they say and then play it exactly the way it's meant to be played, it's just a crime, and you should be like hung from a telephone pole. That's ridiculous. I mean, there's a thing to be said for playing these games the way they were designed. Sure, maybe do that, but then after a couple plays, have fun with it. Change it up, switch it, make it your game. You know. So I love ASL, and I really like the way the impulse points especially work, and Shane Logan's design. And I've told Shane that other than ASL, that's one of the, if not the most impressive systems that I've dealt with when it comes to tactical gaming, and that is in terms of it's not overly complicated. What do I say? I always say it's that the three. What was my train of thought again? Where this porridge is too hot, this porridge is too cold, this porridge is just right. Well, this porridge is just right. It's not too complicated. It's not too simple. It's not too overdone. It's balanced in all aspects when it comes to the way the game plays. It isn't heavy on this and light on that. Everything seems to fit just fine. Again, I'm not playing it exactly the way it was meant to be played. I've joined it with something, but outside of that, the game does play just right. And I'm very, very impressed. In fact, Shane is working on Pacific Theater Old School Tactical Volume 3. I'm anxious to see how that works because, of course, you have bonsai charges in there. How does that incorporate with the impulse points, etc.? Some interesting challenges design-wise to tackle in that. No timeline listed for when we can see that, but it is down the road. And so, yeah, I've been having a lot of fun playing this. And the map boards, I really like the size. Anything bigger would be too much. Some might argue it's too much now. But instead of having 5 or 6 little boards that you join together, there's something to be said for this. It's like psychological, maybe, the feel of this massive single map board. It is mounted, and kind of love-hate relationship with mounted map boards. They tend to bend or warp over time, especially if you live in an extremely humid climate like I do here in the South. That's something to take into consideration. So when you have unmounted map boards, you can take the plexiglass, right, and set it on top and it lays it flat. Well, if you've got a slightly warped or bent mounted map board and you lay some plexiglass on it, unless it's thick enough, it's not going to force it to lay flat. So, but it seems to be laying flat and it looks beautiful. That's the other thing. The graphics on this, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say Conflict of Heroes, they have beautiful map boards, but it's almost, and again, this is going to sound weird to hear, it's almost too realistic looking. It's like you've got this, again, almost 100% real looking terrain, but then when you put the counters on it, it's almost like there's a conflict or a contrast. It doesn't work. So either tone down the awesomeness of the map or tone up the counter art on there or something. But this is just right. It's not too off the deep end, and it's not too basic either. I love the color hues. It's great, and of course, if you're not familiar with it, the reverse sides of these maps that are included in Old School Tactical are winterized. Any of you that know me know that winterized maps are the hummingbird's beard, so that's where it's at. And but it's a real testament for me to say that I like this map in particular, this side, the summer version, because otherwise I would be playing that winterized side. But I don't know, it's just fine. So yeah, great game, and probably may have offended some people by not playing it the way it's supposed to be played, but I just something about ASL, I just can't, it will always be there for me. I can't let go of it enough to not incorporate it somehow. So I think that's it. I've rambled on long enough, showed you guys a couple turns. I don't know if I'll be back. If nothing else, I may post some images of this later on as I get further down in turns, and then put those up on the Hexes and Soldiers Facebook page. For those of you that haven't, I please encourage you to hit that page up and like the page. Why? Because it seems like I'm stuck on a particular number, and I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but it seems like Facebook, they want you to pay for these ads to boost posts and get more views and get more thumbs, and I'm not doing that. It's ridiculous. But I've got this weird theory that because I haven't done that, they've capped me. See, now I sound like a weirdo tinfoil hat guy. But hear me out. It seems like, you know, I don't trust Facebook. Does it seem out of the realm of possibility that they are capping people in order to get them to pay for more thumbs, for more likes, etc.? I don't know. Seems odd, but anyway. I'd love to see 1,000 likes on that Facebook page, and it might sound trivial for me to be concerned about that, but you know, I've been doing this for a while now, and maintaining things and putting work and time into it, so doesn't cost you anything. Just hit like on the Hexes and Soldiers Facebook page. Brighten my day. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys, I guess, the next time I talk to you. Now, if I can figure out how to turn this off without